Antonio Mora, and this is NBC Nightside. The searchers have recovered the flight data recorder from the wreckage of the 737 that crashed in China Tuesday, but the so-called black box is badly damaged, dimming hopes of discovering why the jetliner slammed into a mountainside, killing all 141 persons on board. Searchers also found victims' body parts, suggesting identification will be difficult. The crash was the worst in Chinese aviation history. The United States is offering its military muscle to ensure the delivery of life-saving food to Somalia. Up to 30,000 troops have been made available, and they'll be ordered to use their weapons if necessary. UN leaders have yet to decide whether to accept the U.S. offer. UN shipments to Somalia were suspended Wednesday after a relief ship was attacked by Somalia's warlords. The Navy is blaming miscommunication for a deadly accident at sea last month. 5 Turkish soldiers were killed when 2 missiles fired from the USS Saratoga slammed into their destroyer. It happened during routine drills in the Mediterranean. The captain and several crew members faced disciplinary action. Guilty of attempted murder, that's the verdict in the case of an Oregon man charged with intentionally trying to infect a teenager with the AIDS virus. The 18-year-old girl testified she had unprotected sex with Alberto Gonzalez in 1990. Gonzalez reportedly learned he was HIV positive in 1988. He maintained that the AIDS virus does not constitute a deadly weapon.
There was no set law that HIV is a deadly weapon.
Gentlemen,
it's not on the statutes.
Gonzalez pleaded no contest in a similar case last year. 2 other women have claimed he infected them with HIV, and one of them has since died of AIDS-related causes. Los Angeles is bracing for a possible teachers' strike. The city school district won around in court over the teachers' pay dispute, but the battle lines are drawn. Jim Giggins reports.
Judge Stephen O'Neill ruled that the teachers' dispute over the districts cutting their pay could eventually end up in his court, but that's not where it should start. Judge O'Neill said the teachers' union must begin with the state's Public Employees Relations Board, known as PERB.
The initial exclusive jurisdiction is with the PERB. Accordingly, the preliminary injunction is respectfully denied. The writ of mandate is respectfully denied. This court has no jurisdiction, no authority, no power at this time to resolve this dispute. That will be the court's decision.
In essence, that means, for the moment at least, teachers must live with that 12% salary cut. And the district is no longer facing bankruptcy. The district says there can be no better offer, and that the teachers must come to grips with that fact.
the reality, the harsh reality, which UTLA refuses to accept, is that there is no money. Yes, teachers deserve a better salary. Yes, teachers should not be cutting their salary. Yes, teachers work very hard in the classroom. We can't pay money that we don't have.
That was Jim Giggins reporting. The last defendant in the Exxon Valdez oil spill case must pay the state and federal governments $32 million. They had sued pipeline operator Alyeska for not responding quickly enough to the 1989 spill in Prince William Sound. This ends a series of government lawsuits filed after the nation's worst oil spill. Now with Nightside's business report, here's CNBC's Sue Herrera.
There are more encouraging indications the economy may be getting back on its feet. The government reports the economy grew at a stronger than expected 3.9% annualized rate in the third quarter. That's the strongest pace we've seen in nearly 4 years. Helping to boost the growth rate was a rise in consumer spending as Americans became more confident in the economy. And the latest survey of consumer sentiment by the University of Michigan shows this could be a growing trend. Its survey jumping in mid-November to a reading of 85.3. Meanwhile, in the housing sector, the National Association of Realtors reports sales of previously owned homes soared 9% in October to their highest level in nearly 4 years. Sales improved throughout the nation with double-digit gains in both the Midwest and the West. On the labor front, the number of Americans filing for first-time unemployment benefits fell by a greater than expected 12,000 in mid-November to 374,000. And this comes after a big surge in claims just about 1 week ago. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed with a gain of 17.5 points to finish at 32.66. And that's a look at business news. I'm Sue Herrera for Nightside.
When Nightside returns, travel is going to be tough today in parts of the country. We'll have the holiday weather forecast. To those of you just joining us, good morning. I'm Antonio Mora, and this is NBC Nightside. In the headlines, the United States is offering up to 30,000 armed troops to bring food and aid to starving Somalians. Angry French farmers try to take their displeasure over reduced farm subsidies to Parliament. And a man accused of trying to infect a teenager with AIDS is found guilty. Nightside returns after this.
In Somalia and other African countries, another young life is lost every 60 seconds, all for the lack of a few pounds of basic food. Join Save the Children's emergency phone lift. Call now with your credit card and we'll immediately start turning your compassion into life-giving food. Only $24 will feed 12 children for an entire month. $48 can mean the difference between life and agonizing death for 24 girls and boys. It will only take a minute, but you'll never make a call that can do so much good so quickly for helpless young famine victims. Please, don't turn away from them. Call now and change the faces of starvation into the beginning of hope.
Delta Airlines has been slapped with a $2 million fine for what the Federal Aviation Administration says is a long list of maintenance and safety violations. But FAA officials say the airline corrected the violations and now operates within safety standards. Part of the fine will be suspended, though, until the FAA determines whether Delta is now in full compliance. Snow in the nation's midsection is playing havoc with travelers on this busy weekend. A blizzard dumped more than a foot of snow from Colorado to Iowa. The bad weather is to blame for numerous accidents, and traffic has been reduced to a crawl on many highways. So far, 8 people have died in the snowstorms. Meanwhile, in Amarillo, Texas, the worst is over as residents dig out from under more than a foot of snow there. Interstate 40 is open again after the storm caused a 200-car pileup Tuesday. No one was killed in the accident that stretched for a mile and a half. Nearly 29 million people are expected to travel this holiday weekend. To see if the weather will help or hurt your travel plans, here's Jerry Brown with the Thanksgiving forecast.
Well, good morning. A winter storm over the Midwest will be spreading snow over the western lakes this Thanksgiving Day, and you can see the influx of clouds and moisture along the eastern seaboard. Yes, sometimes it does rain on your parade. Very heavy precipitation in parts of the northeast. A little more sporadic as you move down the coast, but definitely a chance for some thunderstorm activity along this front. There's your cold air on the backside of this low, light snow in Chicago today. Heavier snow with some accumulations in Milwaukee, and it'll also be snowing on the UP of Michigan. Clouds and very cold air back over the northern Midwest. Much cooler air over the southeast. Birmingham from the 70s yesterday. You'll be in the 50s for Thanksgiving Day. In Nashville from about 70 to the upper 40s. Meanwhile, out to the west, partly sunny skies over the Great Basin. They're digging out after their snowstorm. Very pleasant across the southwest and through much of California. Afternoon rain moving in to the Pacific Northwest along that frontal system. High temperatures this afternoon on the west coast from the 40s, Pacific Northwest to the 60s across California, few 70s, extreme southern California. And there's your big pocket of cold air from the Great Basin through the northern Midwest. 40s and 50s New England. Here's your warmest air, South Atlantic coast through the Florida Peninsula. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm Jerry Brown for NBC Nightside.
Chicago may be known as the Windy City, but residents are wondering if the Heart of Darkness might be more appropriate. Chicago's last sunny day was October 28th, and since the return of Central Standard Time pushed sunsets back an hour, residents are wondering when they'll see daylight. And National Weather Service forecasters say the gloom is nearly over. Sunshine is predicted for Friday. And hundreds of thousands of people will be enjoying Thanksgiving in a special way in New York. They'll be at the largest holiday parade in the nation. It's the 66th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and it features those famous giant balloons, including Garfield the Cat and Big Bird. They're still being inflated right about now in a flurry of final preparations for their airborne trip down Broadway. Coming up on Nightside, gasoline tanker trucks. Some call them Molotov cocktails on wheels. And later on in sports, Auburn's football coach is stepping down. Mark Barger will have the story.
If you're concerned about your thinning hair, call Hair Club for Men and receive our free brochure. Learn how Hair Club's non-surgical polyfuse method gives you the freedom you've always wanted. Your new hair will look and feel like a part of you.
I did not ask to lose my hair, and for a long period of time I thought that I would have no choice. And with Hair Club, I do have that choice. I like that.
No matter what sport or activity you enjoy, you'll feel secure and confident with your new hair.
I was uncomfortable when I didn't have hair. Now that I have a full head of hair, people that haven't seen me in a while, they don't even know I had anything done. It's like totally natural to them.
Now I can walk down the street and not worry about the person standing right behind me or standing on, you know, waiting at a traffic light and the people are piling up behind me, and I think that everyone's looking down at the top of my head.
So call for our free brochure to view our various hairstyles and receive information about Hair Club's non-surgical polyfuse method.
And remember, I'm not only the Hair Club president, but I'm also a client.
This is the busiest travel weekend of the year, and millions of people have already flooded airports, train stations, and the nation's highways.
For those driving, among the biggest hazards are tanker trucks carrying gasoline. As Robert Hager reports, the 18-wheelers can become Molotov cocktails on wheels.
2 days after Christmas, 1989, flames shot high into the sky above Claremont, California. A double tanker truck carrying gasoline jackknifed. A car behind skidded into the wreckage. The family of 4 inside was killed. Now, Bonnie Galaire wants to know why. Why her daughter, her son-in-law, her 2 grandchildren were lost in the accident.
I want to know why he didn't pull that truck over. He killed my family.
The California crash was not unusual. This accident just last month in Maryland killed 3. A study estimates there may be more than 600 gasoline truck accidents a year on U.S. highways. And of all the deaths involving trucks with hazardous materials, 97% are caused by gasoline tankers. Safety expert Gerald Donaldson.
50% of them roll over when they have an accident. 50% of them spill their contents. And in most instances, overwhelmingly, that's a combustible or flammable fuel or gas. And 1 out of 4 of them, when they do that, have a fire.
Part of the problem with tanker trucks, a high center of gravity. This University of Michigan film shows what can happen when a tanker truck turns too quickly and carries an unbalanced load. A recent government safety report on tanker trucks suggests another problem may be the agency which regulates trucking, the Federal Highway Administration. The report says its rules to prevent gasoline from spilling from a tanker once it turns over may be inadequate and unenforced. The Highway Administration refused to be interviewed on camera. Criticism comes just as the Highway Administration is thinking of weakening rules about rest for truck drivers, permitting them to drive 100 hours over an 8-day period, 20 hours more than currently allowed. This, in spite of investigators who say driver fatigue and rollovers are the 2 biggest factors in accidents. The organization representing tanker truck owners admits there are problems.
There are bad guys out there. Why do the bad guys get loads? And that is because the nation's shippers, the people who put these hazardous materials in commerce, give them loads. Why do they give them loads? Because they're the cheapest.
But accidents don't always involve so-called bad guys. The driver in the Maryland crash had a good safety record, and so did his company. In the California accident, the driver who survived told investigators that as he was driving, he felt a dragging sensation well before the accident. Bonnie Galaire wants to know why he didn't stop.
Most of us, if we're driving our cars and we're having problems with our cars, we pull over to see what's wrong with it. But he didn't. Instead, he killed 4 people.
Is there a way to stop tankers from rolling over? One company has a truck with a low center of gravity to haul chemicals. It's state-of-the-art, but there's widespread reluctance by others to use it because of its cost.
If the trucking companies and the drivers and the general public won't take responsibility for it themselves, then there has to be tighter restrictions put on by the government.
Those who want tougher rules hope that's the route the next administration will take, so lives can be saved. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Tomorrow marks the official start of the holiday shopping season. Traditionally, retailers use the day after Thanksgiving as a barometer for weeks to come. Last year, the recession and consequently cautious consumers put a damper on holiday sales. But this year, retailers hope for better times.
We're cautiously optimistic. We think that there's a good opportunity to post some respectable increases over last year's December sales.
Industry analysts forecast 5 to 10% gains at discount stores and a 4 to 5% increase over last year at higher-end stores.
Last year, people bought grudgingly. This year, they buy not grudgingly. They'll buy cautiously. They will buy with a great deal of care and not wanting to spend too much money, but they will buy.
Recent national surveys predict the average household will spend between $400 and $600 on gifts this year. One plus for retailers, there are 2 more shopping days between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year than there were a year ago.
American military personnel stationed overseas are going to be able to phone home for free this holiday. The Armed Forces military affiliate Radio System and MCI have set up a special call home program. Members of all the branches of the services will be able to use call for free.
Sounds like a
nice Thanksgiving
great idea.
gift, but I hate to be standing in that line.
You're right. Stay with us. Nightside Sports is next.
The following contains important information for veterans, their spouses, and widows aged 50 to 75.
Lottery tickets. We never missed a week. My husband and I used to sit around dreaming how we'd spend it all. We knew the odds were ridiculous, but it was only a couple of bucks a week, and it was fun. And then Ron died about 6 months ago, and I found out we didn't have enough life insurance. I had no idea how much funeral and legal fees would be. I owed over $6,000. Turns out we could have easily afforded extra life insurance for the price of a couple of these.
If you're a veteran age 50 to 75 or the spouse or widow of a veteran, you can afford life insurance because Veterans Life Insurance Company offers term life policies for as little as $1 a week. If you served in wartime, peacetime, active, or reserves, call this toll-free number for free information about $1-a-week life insurance just for veterans, their spouses, and widows.
I learned about life insurance the hard way. Now I have my own policy from Veterans Life. $1 a week, I don't even miss it. And I feel really good knowing that someday my kids won't have to go through what I just did.
Call now for free information. There's no medical exam, no waiting period, and your benefits never go down. You'll also get free membership in the Veterans Discount Prescription and Vision Care plans that can save you up to 60% on medications and eyeglasses.
For $1 a week, I can't afford not to have Veterans Life Insurance. Oh, I still buy an occasional lottery ticket, but now I know I have something that'll pay off in the future.
Call 1-800-628-1100 right now for free information about $1-a-week life insurance from Veterans Life Insurance Company. Operators are standing by. Call 1-800-628-1100. $1 a week now is all it takes to help give your family financial security later.
Mark Barger joins us with sports. The Pat Dye era is over at Auburn.
Yeah, it'll come to an end later today, and what's sure to be it was going to be an emotional game anyhow. Alabama and Auburn always is when they play in Legion Field, but especially so later on today because of circumstances last night. With the school facing NCAA violations involving the football program, Auburn football coach Pat Dye resigned Wednesday night, but he will coach the team later today when they host Alabama.
Coach Dye initiated discussions on this possibility about a week ago. An agreement was finalized this afternoon. And we wanted him to coach his last game in an environment free from speculation and rumor.
After today's game, Dye will stay on at the school as special assistant to the president. Meantime, semifinal action in the preseason NIT last night in Madison Square Garden. One of the matchups pitted 4th-ranked Indiana against 7th-ranked Florida State. And late in the game, Florida State was trying to pad a 1-point lead, but Indiana takes it the other way, and Pat Graham lays it in to put the Hoosiers on top. Now, the Seminoles counter with a turnaround from Douglas Edwards to tie the game and force overtime, but Indiana prevails in the extra period. Alan Henderson taps home the miss, and the Hoosiers beat Florida State 81-78 in overtime. Now, in the other half of the semifinal, Seton Hall taking on UCLA, and Terry DeHare nails a three-pointer here to give the Pirates the lead for good. He had 27 on the night. The Pirates with a 13-4 run late to get the victory, 73-64. Now, Shaquille O'Neal's rookie tour through the NBA continued last night, and it was his first meeting with Houston's Akeem Olajuwon in a battle of the big men in Orlando. And in the second half, Shaquille was going to wind up here and put in the hook over Olajuwon, but on the night, Shaquille only had 12 points. Olajuwon had the better individual stats, this jumper, part of his 22-point night, but Orlando got the victory. Scott Skiles had 30, and the Magic took it 107-94. Meanwhile, in Phoenix, the Blazers' hopes for an unblemished record continuing dashed last night. Charles Barkley, a big reason. Sir Charles, 33 on the night, and then a three-pointer here by Dan Marley helped put it on ice as the Suns won it 121-117. Elsewhere in the NBA, it was the Celtics, 150 points as they beat the Bullets. The Hawks over the Sixers. The Magic did in the Rockets. The Heat over the Pacers. The Hornets make it 5 in a row. The Knicks beat the Timberwolves. The Clippers over the Mavericks. The Bucks beat the Cavaliers. The Nuggets won. So did the Spurs. The Suns over the Trailblazers. And the Nets beat the Lakers. Now, while the NBA tried to beat the Thanksgiving rush last night, so did the NHL. 9 games going on around the U.S. and Canada. And checking that scoreboard, we have the Montreal Canadiens 6-1 winners over Hartford. The Quebec Nordiques and Buffalo fought to an overtime tie. Ottawa won, so did New York. Detroit over St. Louis. Washington beat Boston. Vancouver did in Minnesota. San Jose in overtime over Calgary. And the Kings 3-1 over the Oilers. A busy night and football, a lot of it coming up today, Thanksgiving Day.
You bet. We'll hear about that later. Thanks, Mark. Back in just a moment.
With trusting eyes, the children show minds open, hearts true. Our spirits grow. The touch, the feel, the fabric of our lives. The touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
My husband and I are on a fixed income, and we didn't want big bills and big maintenance, but we did want a nice, big, smooth ride. So we went for the Century, and we're very happy with it.
All over America, Buick quality's leading the way.
If you're looking for quality, value, and style, your Florida Buick dealers say welcome home.
Buick is leading the way.
You can tell a lot about people by what they throw away, and that's the whole basis to a UNLV student's field of study.
David Riggleman is going to introduce us to the resident garbologist at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
We want to find how much waste we can divert from the landfill.
Tara Pike has a trashy mind, but there's no bad connotation in that. Tara is one of the top environmental studies students at UNLV. She's a garbologist. In other words, someone who studies garbage. Why in the world would you want to go through trash?
Well, it's important that we reduce the waste that's going into landfills, and the only way to do that is to find out what's recyclable and what's not. And the only way to do that is to go through the garbage. Like this and this stuff, that's trash.
Tara has organized several down and dirty studies at UNLV. She's trying to find out how well the university community recycles, what items are recycled the most, and what items end up in the trash can instead of the recycling bin. Quite simply, it's important to keep as much trash out of America's landfills as possible because they're filling up at an incredible rate. That's why recycling is being stressed so much. Tara is working with Silver State Disposal to get a good idea of how well recycling is working and what we need to do as consumers to make it work better. That's valuable information as we head into the next century, so the throwaway society won't throw away a decent place to live. In Las Vegas, David Riggleman for NBC News.
Well, Antonio has a trashy mind, too, but I'm not sure we're on the same level here. I don't
Not
know.
nearly as trashy as yours, Tom. But all I know is that I wouldn't want to be one of Tara's parents when she gets home after a day at work.
It's always down in the dumps when you're in this job, you know?
We'll be right back.
Comedians have always dreamed of being on The Tonight Show.
Hi, I'm
Sears Sales Associate Gretchen Leckie-Ewing, and we have some of the best Christmas values in our history.
This Kenmore extra large capacity washer with 6 cycles is only $356. Matching dryer $276. Both only $14 a month on your Sears Charge Plus. And this Kenmore upright back with 7.5 amps and onboard attachments is at our lowest price ever. Only $99.99. You save $40. Only at Sears Brand Central now.
You can count on me.
Luria's Thanksgiving Jewelry Sale. Save up to 50% off all jewelry for 3 days only. See Luria's Thanksgiving Day newspaper insert for these incredible savings. 50% off a multi-million-dollar collection of diamond, gold, and gemstone jewelry. 40% off cubic zirconia. 30% off pearls. Up to 50% off all jewelry. Stores open tomorrow, 7 a.m. with unbelievable early bird special.
When you think Luria,
Luria's Thanksgiving Jewelry Sale.
you've thought of everything.
Right now, at Sound Advice, you can get ready for the holidays without paying 1 penny's worth of interest for 6 months or making a payment for 6 months. It's your choice. Plus, put no money down during the Sound Advice No Pay Till May electronic sale. Save big on Florida's best selection of audio, video, and mobile electronics. And don't pay 1 red cent for 6 months. The Sound Advice No Pay Till May electronic sale going on now. Better hurry. We can't keep saying no forever.
Are you coming to Mervyn's after Thanksgiving sale?
Hey, we're already here.
Good thing. Save 40% on holiday and fashion jewelry.
We're having Thanksgiving here, so we'll be the first ones in the door.
Be first to save on men's Windridge dress shirts and their entire stock of Mrs. and Junior sweaters.
Second helpings, anyone?
Help yourself to savings on basic fleece for kids and White Goose down comforters.
Honey, we're out of cranberries.
Excuse me, do you have any extra cranberries?
Mervyn's after Thanksgiving sale starts tomorrow, 7 a.m.
Just a few hours from now, a lot of us are going to gather around with our families and sit down for the traditional Thanksgiving turkey dinner. But we in the news business also have a tradition of running a mandatory turkey story.
And somehow, I don't think this is going to be the only one we'll run tonight. But for now, Alicia Booth set out into the heart of North Carolina, where talking turkey is big business.
These young turkeys, poult as they're called, are part of an industry that's one of the biggest moneymakers in the area.
Turkey business is big in Union County and in North Carolina. Probably over 10 million turkeys grown in Union County alone.
And grow they do. It's hard to believe something that weighs just a few grams could turn into a 30-pound meal.
This bird's going to eat about 80 pounds of feed.
And when you add 18 weeks to that feed, this is what you get. Sam Starnes' family has been in the turkey business since the 1960s. And over the years, they've learned the industry is anything but a turkey. That's because the country is eating so much of what they raise. In 1980, the average person ate about 10 pounds of turkey a year. But by 1992, that number skyrocketed to 20 pounds a year. Starnes attributes the jump to healthier eating and the fact that there is such a variety of turkey meat products to choose from now. Even though you may be very familiar with turkey, there are probably a few things you don't know about them. The more aggressive toms like to do what's called strutting, and the more excited ones turn bright red and blue on top.
While all of these 8,000 turkeys may be different in their own way, they do have one thing in common. That's their reaction to the word Thanksgiving.
Looked like she was having fun.
Alicia's taking a very big chance there.
You're right. You're watching NBC Nightside, a production of the NBC News Channel, Charlotte, North Carolina.